Let's get into it. No sound effects added. That is my own thunder. You probably couldn't hear it that well. I got noise cancellation. That's the excuse I use now. Oh, it's noise reduction and some audio stuff. You just wouldn't understand. I mean, it's not that I clap like a pansy or anything. That's not really the case. Everybody is upset with Kash Patel. Kash Patel said day one, he knows the FBI director has the black book. He knows that if you get a hold of the black book, you release it day one. It's what he said he would do. And then day one came and day one went, and day 100 is right around the corner for Kash Patel. And even still, nothing has come up. Now, a lot of people are disappointed with his performance as FBI director. But also, I will say in his defense, I am one of those people, but I will say in his defense, a lot of us don't know all the parameters of being FBI director. And now we're also disappointed in Dan Bongino, as he is Kash's deputy. So we're going to hear Joe Rogan talk about that a little bit. Then we're going to hear Tim Dillon even chime in about this. And then we'll just have a conversation about, what's really going on. And I'm going to play what Kash and Dan have said together, what Dan said when he was in a solo interview, what Kash said when he was in a solo interview. And let's just see what everybody thinks about all this. I don't know what to think, really, As much as I want to say, hey, day one, you said it, let's do it. I don't know the parameters for what that takes. But I will say, from the video that I've seen so far, I'm losing a lot of faith in those two. I think they're great guys. I've seen all their podcasts and their interviews and stuff. I think they're great. I just think in this position, they are becoming taken by the blob. And keep in mind, right before I play this even goes against what Trump wanted to have done. So let's get into it.
Be against because they're going to run for re-election, which they're always doing. Mm-hmm. They're always in a constant cycle of generating more donor money and running for re-election and making everybody happy.
I think you, at least for you see that with AOC, someone who, when she was coming up, it was like a whole anti-system sort of Democrat. Mm-hmm. And then 2020 endorses Biden. So it's like eventually they get you to play ball.
Well, it's like, who would she endorse if she didn't endorse Biden? This is the argument that Bernie Sanders made on Flagrant. Mm-hmm. He was essentially saying to Akash and Andrew, he was saying, my choice was either help Donald Trump or support the Democratic Party, even though they him over. And so his choice, he made the choice to support Hillary.
Well, I get it from Bernie's perspective.
When it came to Bernie Sanders, it wasn't just that he decided. They also threatened to put his wife in jail. I don't know if anybody knows that. Tucker Carlson has talked about it extensively, but they threatened to charge his wife with some kind of crime that would have actually put her in jail. And that's when he decided to throw his support behind that evil candidate.
Perspective, but if in my mind, if I'm I don't know, and this is me not knowing anything about how Congress works, but it's if I'm supposed to be the next young, I'm the change of the Democratic Party, I think the power move is to not endorse anybody there. If I'm in an AOC position of just
I think the system is a little more locked down than we'd like to think.
Right.
Well, clearly it is, right? Mm-hmm. Because here's a good example. They were going to release the Epstein files day one, right? Okay, what happened? What happened? If that's what you wanted to do before you got the job, and then you got the job and day one you couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what are we saying? Are we saying that this is more complicated? It's probably a lot more complicated. There's probably a web. And then there's also people for decades and decades been developing relationships and working inside these. That's the real government. That's our real government. That's our real government. These people realize that once they get into Congress, they realize that when they become a senator, they realize that. Okay, this is not the real government. And if you with the real government, they'll take your ass out.
They'll shoot you. Or they'll try.
They did everything to Trump. They did everything. They did indictments. They did public shame. They took shots at him.
But also with the Epstein thing, it's probably just way too many people are on that list for our government to be even any sort of functional.
Look at the two of them. It's a hostage video, dog.
Dude, he looks so scared to be there right now.
Bro, that's a hostage video.
That's Kash right now being don't say the wrong name or I'm dead.
Yeah, that's a hostage video, son.
Yeah, there's no winning in that because it's like that's Epstein is across the aisle. That's everybody.
The thing about them saying that I've seen the file, he definitely. Well, what could be in the file? Let's strongman this.
Mm-hmm.
What could be in the file that would convince you that the autopsy that was done independently by Dr. Michael Baden, who's that famous HBO autopsy guy? Do you know that guy?
No.
You ever see that show, HBO's Autopsy?
No, I've never seen that.
Great show. From a while back. But the show was all about how they caught murderers who did a lot of crazy and just insane things that some people did. One guy, his wife died, and he kept her body in his house, and he kept buying like cases and cases of perfume, and he was covering her decaying body with perfume to stop the odor, and he inserted some sort of a rubber fake into the corpse. Bro.
Yeah, what a guy.
Bro. When they describe it, so this guy, anyway, he's got a famous show that was on HBO that was on for a long time, like many seasons. All of these insane murder cases, like how they caught these people. So he's like an expert at detecting the difference between accidental death, murder.
Okay, Joe Rogan's going off on a tangent here, but just to say, in the clip that I have of Dan Bongino, his solo interview, he actually talks about exactly what they have that will prove that Epstein did this to himself and it wasn't someone else that did it to him, which I still don't know if I believe.
And he looked at the autopsy. He looked at what had happened to Epstein's body. He said, this is indicative of someone being strangled to death. These kind of breaks in the bones on the neck. This is not what happens when you hang yourself. And he was like, the mark is also in the wrong place. It's low on the neck. Whereas if someone kills themselves, the weight of their body, which is what's them, it all goes up to like the top of your chin. He's like, none of these injuries are injuries that are consistent with someone who was strangled. So what could be in if they don't have a video? So if they say the cameras were down, okay, so there's no video. All right, so what do you have that makes you think that he 100% committed? And how do you let the guy who is in one of the most high-profile cases of trafficking in history, how do you let that guy just not be watched?
But also, why is Ghislaine still alive? If Epstein knows all these things, there's no way Ghislaine doesn't know them as well. She's like there. She's there the whole time. I feel like she knows everything that he knows.
Well, she's in jail where they get to do yoga.
Yeah, so she got a sweet deal.
Well, she is alive though, which is kind of crazy. Like you got to wonder, like if they, because they couldn't trust him allegedly.
Right.
Let's just say.
Maybe
let's give Kash and Dan the benefit of the doubt. So maybe there's something in that file that shows that what would convince you? What could be in the file that would convince you?
I mean, it would have to be active. It would have to be active politicians, presidents, billionaires. Like it's got to be like that level of like. I mean, the prince was there.
Did you ever see what Epstein's cellmate looked like?
No.
You know what's funny there? He misunderstood what Joe Rogan was saying. Joe Rogan was saying what would have to be in the file that would make you believe that he did this to himself. And this guy didn't understand and he just started listing people. It's very interesting how that happens. But my question to you is, what would have to be in that file for you to actually believe what Kash and Dan are saying? What would you have to see? And what could they have possibly seen that's making them believe that? Let's keep going.
Oh, bro. Ready for this? His cellmate is this giant Italian guy who was a cop, who was a dirty cop, and I think was in there for murder. I think it was like a bad drug deal or something. Let's find the details in this. But when you see what this guy looked like, you're like, are you kidding me? He looks like The Rock.
Right.
The guy's giant. And this is the cellmate. You put a murderer in with a guy who's the most high-profile witness and defendant in history, dealing with a slave operation for elites, and you left him in there with a giant murderer?
Right. There should be a guard around him at all times. But they knew they were going to liquidate him. Like,
You know what?
almost immediately.
You get an image of him, Jamie?
Well, I was digging through details of what he did that I didn't remember. I don't remember.
What the
hearing.
cop did?
Yeah, he had 4 life sentences.
Jesus Christ.
Wait, but let's show the picture
Well,
of him. The picture's insane. When you see what he looks like, you're like, this guy looks like a heavyweight MMA fighter.
Right. They were just waiting for him to die.
Bro, he literally looks like a gorilla. Look at him. Far right picture. That one, yeah. Look at the size of this
Damn.
guy. Imagine,
Damn.
someone got strangled to death and this guy's the cellmate? Nothing to see here, folks. Look at the size of the fucking guy. Ex-Westchester cop gets 4 life terms in prison for quadruple homicide. So he's already in jail for 4 life sentences. All you have
Could you imagine that guy? Look at that guy. That guy's huge. You just get back to Epstein's cell and you're like, what happened here? He's like, I don't know what happened. I gotta be honest. Nah. I cut myself shaving, just some blood from the shaving. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I left. Jeffrey was upset. I come back. I don't know. He did what he did. I don't know. Anyway, I gotta go get some money that's waiting for me over here. I gotta get going, but I'll see you guys later, okay? All right? And make sure my new cellmate, make sure he's a better guy. I don't know what happened to this guy. Did something to himself, I guess. I don't know. Oh, is there a call for me? Who is it? Oh, hello, Hillary. How are you? Is Bill there with you? Oh, what? This guy get 4 life sentences. Let me just tell you something about how jail works. Once you're in for 4 life sentences, you're never getting out. That's first. And you will do anything to get money on your books, to get better food, better treatment, anything. And especially if you have kids, then it's like, okay, I'm going to do something on the inside, make sure XYZ is taken care of on the outside. That's it. If this guy has a daughter, there's nothing this guy won't do on the inside. Are you kidding me?
Oh,
Damn.
someone got strangled to death and this guy's the cellmate? Nothing to see here, folks. Look at the size of the guy. Ex-Westchester cop gets 4 life terms in prison for quadruple homicide. So he's already in jail for 4 life sentences. All you have to do is give him tuna fish. You get tuna from the commissary. Just guy.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to get? We're going to get you hookers every month. We'll bring in a hooker. What are you going to get?
Damn.
I mean, I'm not saying that that happened.
I mean,
but I'm saying if a guy is in jail for 4 life sentences, like that would be a good guy to hire.
One of them was strangling someone to death with a zip tie.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
He's
wow.
good at it. He's good at it. Jesus Christ. He strangled someone to death with a zip tie.
tortured him.
What is his name?
Martin Luna.
Tartaglione. Tartaglione. He's like, that's like a character in a bad
It's
novel.
a strong man that, though, he wasn't technically his cellmate at the time of the death. He was moved.
Hey, they moved me. Don't worry about it. I wasn't even there, bro. I wasn't even there. I was just 2 cells down, and my door was locked for
Right.
sure.
Well, I mean, you can't tell because the video's gone, but I'm
Listen,
stuck there.
If they have video, I mean, please show it so I can prove my innocence. Meanwhile, now he's got sandwiches Jimmy John's gets delivered
Right.
to prison. he's eating great.
Extra yard time.
He's got a laptop in his room. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? You remember in Goodfellas where they had like their own special prison? Apparently that was real. They used to really have it set up like that.
That makes sense.
Where like mob guys would pay people off, so when they went to prison, they had like a big prison cell and they would cook in there and they would do a bunch of like for real. They just had to stay there and hang out with each other.
Yeah, dude, it's so great. Corruption is always corruption, huh?
Corruption is always
It's
corruption,
always
man.
there's no way around.
Man, Joe Rogan just straight up calling out Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. I had another clip where he mentioned them again, but it was like brief. It was brief. He's not going in on them too much. But let's just move on to what's actually them talking about it. This was the first clip when they were together. They did an interview together, and this is what really set people off, and people just stopped believing in these two. And then they did an interview separately, and I'll show you those clips afterwards. Let's jump in.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to.
Hold on. Hold the phone. Hold on a second. Did they both laugh? Hold the phone. They both laughed?
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed. People don't believe it.
Why are they laughing? Why are they giggling? What? I didn't even catch this the first few times I listened to this. That is crazy. All right.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to? I've seen the whole file.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed.
That's crazy. And then Dan just jumps in. Nobody even said anything to Dan. He did. Okay. I've seen it. All right. I've seen the file. All right. I guess again to you guys, what could be in that file? Do you think? And this is coming from like a legit stance. Like, what do you think is in that file that's leading them to think that? If the cameras are off and you can't see anything, then how would you know? Really? Yeah. Here's Kash Patel. This is him on his own that they did recently. This interview happened 2 days ago. Check this out.
Over again, the American public spent tens of millions of dollars and countless hours on TV listening to conspiracy theories because those in positions of leadership failed to tell the American public the truth.
But there is a lot of conspiracy theories out there.
There are.
The Epstein thing, you dealt with Maria, you said, as far as you know,
I'm telling you.
The other thing on the internet is the Epstein files. What's the answer to that?
The answer to that is the same as everything else. I'm not going to withhold information from the American public ever, but I'm also not going to rush to get it out there in a format in which they can't rely on it. So on the Epstein matter or any other matters, we are diligently working on that, and it takes time to go through years of investigations, years of political maneuvering, and years of cover-up to get the American people what they deserve. And that's what I'm going to give them on everything.
Yeah. And if somebody says, how long is that going to take? You know, we always see investigations in Washington that end up in blue ribbon commissions, and it doesn't seem like anything comes from it. Do you think actual prosecutions will come from some of this stuff?
I think from some of this stuff, when we go back and look at things like the case, the White House, January 6th, and Crossfire Hurricane, the prosecutorial decisions will lay at the Department of Justice, but we are rigorously.
How did they jump? I thought they were still talking about how did they jump to that? Like just skipping right over it. See, this is another thing that makes people not trust this anymore. You're acting like it's not even something to focus on. And then at the beginning, he's talking about people believing in conspiracy theories. Like he was one of the guys in all the interviews talking about all this stuff. And now he's calling it all conspiracy. That for me is wild. And I also think that they did this run of interviews separate as a form of damage control in a sense, because, you know, whether or not they're on X, because they don't have time for all that nonsense, but people are letting them know, you know, public is starting to think this about you. Public starting to lose trust in you. We can see it here. Like you can go to X nowadays and actually get a feel for how trusted someone is. This is Dan Bongino talking about it as well. And what he has to say is just like, what? What's happening now? Wait, there was video? It's so weird. Let's go.
But you promised that you weren't going to do that. You promised that you were going to get rid of the partisanship and you were going to go back to being a law enforcement officer. Yeah. You went in there and there were some cases that were closed or still open that a lot of the public felt a little sketchy about. The first assassination attempt against President Donald Trump. It's like, is he really the guy? What happened with Epstein? Can you say with confidence, as a lot of public, you used to be their guy when it comes to podcasts, appearing on Fox News, but now as a law enforcement officer, can you say we have all the information?
Well, I'm never going to say we have all of it. And people ask me all the time, are these cases closed? And whether they're closed administratively is irrelevant. If new tips come in, we're absolutely going to follow them. And that's why I always put out, if you have additional information, please let us know. Those two cases obviously are of significant public interest. I'm just telling you what we see in the file. I just want to be crystal clear on this. I am not asking anyone to believe me. I'm telling you what's there and what isn't.
Right.
There is nothing in the
That right there throws me off. When you go from saying you want people to trust you to now you're okay. Now you're saying, listen, I'm no body language expert. That says a lot. Just I'm someone that watches his podcast as well. I used to. I mean, come on. That says a lot right there. But you can't just be like, think about whenever anybody says that to you. That means I'm not going to call him a liar, but usually when you see that type of behavior, it's someone has dug into the lie this much that they're like, this is the tactic that has to work. I'm not asking you to believe me. And it's like, okay, the file that we can't see. So you're telling me to believe in the file that I can't see and to not believe you at the same time. Interesting. Okay.
I'm just telling you what we see in the file. I just want to be crystal clear on this. I am not asking anyone to believe me. I'm telling you what's there and what isn't.
Right.
There is nothing in the file at this point on the Epstein case, and there's going to be a disclosure on this coming shortly. We are working through there is video. That is something the public does not.
There's video of him.
No, not the actual act, but the entire MCC Bay. It was only one camera. There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this. We are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there.
He just said that we're going to give you the original, but we're also going to clean it up and enhance it. That would make it not the original. Just saying. Just saying.
But him.
Right.
There's just nobody enhanced. And we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him.
Right.
There's just nobody there. So I say to people all the time, if you have a tip, let us know. But there's no DNA, there's no audio, there's no fingerprints, there's no suspects, there's no accomplices, there's no tips, there is nothing. If you have it, I'm happy to see it. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
So there's three cases that you're looking at: the D.C. things, the Supreme Court leak on the Dobbs decision, and the White House. You say one of them, within a day or two, we're going to have a major break?
Well, we got a good tip this morning. We're going to run it out. We're not going to be able to make that public, obviously, right away, because we have to make sure, and we have to go all the proper steps. What I don't want to do ever, and I've said this before, it's not an excuse. I can't say to the public enough. I put it in my tweets all the time. I'm not asking you to trust me. Nothing drives me crazier when people go, they're asking us to trust a plan. I am absolutely not. Read my tweets. I don't want you to trust me. I don't. I'd be nice.
You'll have evidence.
All I care about is results.
So let's talk about what the president wants. He clearly wants a result when he told Brett Baer on the assassination.
I got to say, that doesn't make any sense, Like, I'm telling people all the time. Again, body language. This is crazy. I mean, I know he's an intense dude, but it's like, he's not looking at anybody as he's saying all this. You know that, right? As he's saying the things where you would have to connect with someone and look them in the eye and say them, he's looking down and he's saying, this is, and then he looks up. I have a kid now. If my kid does that, I'm going to say, hey, tell me the truth. I'm going to grab him by his face. I'm going to look him in the eye and I'm going to say, tell me the truth. Okay? Stop looking down like that. Look at me. And then he's going to cry and then he's going to admit it. That's how that works. I'm just saying. I know some of you are going to be very triggered by this because you love Dan and I know. I get people message me all the time. Love the podcast. You connect with people who you watch their podcast. But I think he's not a podcaster anymore. And I think this is some deep state, just double talk right now. We're going to give you the original, but don't worry. We're going to clean it up and enhance it. I don't really want you to trust me, but I'd like for you to trust me. But the thing is, I'm just worried about results and I want to do it right. It's like he's saying things without saying anything. That's what I see. I don't know. Now let's have some fun. Tim Dillon saw this whole thing. And you can only imagine what Tim Dillon had to say.
Dan Bongino, Kash Patel come out and they say Jeffrey Epstein.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, you know when you see one, and that's what that was.
Again, you want me to? I've seen the whole file.
Kash Patel, who looks like he saw a ghost. I mean, Kash Patel fully looks like he's on a ghost tour with that. Does anyone believe that the people that were in the position to have Jeffrey Epstein killed wouldn't have? If you went to any of these presidents, prime ministers, CEOs, billionaires, and said, we could get him, do you think any of them went, well, yeah, but isn't that morally wrong? Having sex with who've been enslaved on an island, fine. But I will not be a part of this. Kash Patel promised transparency. I don't know that there's more to know, but you're going to know everything we know. There's nothing to know. I don't know that there is more to know. What a weird statement. I don't know that there is more to know. What does that even mean? What's that non-denial denial? I don't know that there's more to know, but you're going to know everything we know. I bet we won't. I'll tell you that much.
I think he's on to something there. I got to be honest. It does not seem like we are going to know exactly what they are seeing. And, no surprises. I will bring up one thing just to push against everything that I'm saying right now. Somebody in the comment section was like, it's 444. It's 444 right now. It's a good sign. But there is the aspect of maybe right now they're getting prepared to do something really big. And as they're getting prepared to do something really big, they have to put out this decoy of a sense where they go, no, don't worry. Nobody else was involved. No foul play. But in reality, they're building a case towards the people that did do this. They are building this big case. They just don't want to ruffle anything right now. And that person in the comment section, they said that. I was like, that is something to think about, right? But then I wrote to them, I think we're all 5D chess fatigued. We are all fatigued of the 5D chess. We want someone to king someone. We are getting very fatigued with the 5D chess. We are deep state fatigued right now. And I gotta say, I can't be the only one. I just want to see some straightforwardness. 5D chess is fun. I want to see some straightforwardness right now, especially with this instance. But yeah, that's and what do you guys think? What do you guys really think about this? I'll be honest. I think, again, and I've said it before, I think when you're out, it's just like president, right? Being president. Like a lot of people speculate with Obama. I don't believe this whatsoever because I know he was a community organizer and I know that he was into Saul Alinsky and ruled for radicals. I don't believe this at all. But a lot of people say when you're president or before you're president, you have a lot of ideas and then you get in and then some people sit you down and they tell you exactly how it's all going to go. And then you just play your role and that's it. You're very idealistic at first. But then all of a sudden you realize there's things that you're just not allowed to do and not allowed to question and not allowed to say to the public. I feel like that's what's happened with them. They had this idea. Kash was like, day one, I'm doing this. I know what to do. I know where the black book is. I know who has the black book. According to Kash, he's now the one that has the black book. So what's up? I don't get it. You already have someone who's arrested. Maxwell, she's arrested. There's a black book. Go arrest everybody in the black book. They're all clients. Hold them all. Get all the information you can. I mean, this is the same stuff they would do if this was like a violent Chicago gang or a mob or something. They would just round them all up. They'd be like, let's go. But that's not happening in this case. I don't know. I think he had one idea of what he could do, and then he got in and he realized, I don't know if I can do it. And I will say again, I brought this up briefly, this goes against what President Trump wanted. President Trump wanted Kennedy files. He wanted them completely unredacted. He wanted no redactions whatsoever. But then he always, and I got to be honest, I hate when he says it, but I'm going to leave that up to Pam Bondi and the rest. I hate when he says that. Just micromanage a little bit and be like, I want you to do exactly what I'm saying. And then they would do it. But he always says, I'm going to leave it to them, leave it their judgment. That's what you got to do. You got to delegate properly. And he's doing the same thing with Kash. He said that he just wants it released, everything released. That's what he'd like to see. But he's leaving it up to Kash and Dan to do what they think is right. And this is apparently it. So anyway, I'm out.